This week on Africa Weekly, we'll head to Egypt, where police are struggling to contain a surge in militant bomb attacks. Then to Djibouti, a small nation with large ambitions, positioning itself as the trade gateway for Asia into Africa. And finally to South Africa, where Soweto Fashion Week is helping young designers from Johannesburg's largest township get noticed. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week. The FIFA bribery scandal has spread to South Africa, with allegations that a $10 million bribe was paid to host the 2010 World Cup. The government and National Football Association strenuously deny the claim.
This is not a bribe, but an above-board payment duly allocated for an approved program. We'll therefore await the United States authorities to share with us the basis on which they allege that this allocation was a bribe.
Boko Haram has launched a string of deadly attacks across Nigeria during Muhammadu Buhari's first week in office, killing over 80 people. The new president has sworn to crush the Islamist militant group. Burundi's parliamentary elections have been postponed after weeks of violent protests. Police shot dead one protester on Friday amid renewed demonstrations against President Pierre Nkurunziza's bid for a third term. Items recovered from the shipwreck of a former Portuguese slave ship, the São José, go on display in South Africa next week, giving a glimpse into the transatlantic slave trade. The ship sank near Cape Town in 1794, with 400 captives on board. And we end with music from the Bushfire Festival in Swaziland. Over 25,000 spectators turned out for a weekend of concerts by dozens of groups from across the globe. Four years after the Arab Spring, Egypt remains in chaos. The country's former president, Mohamed Morsi, was sentenced to death in May, and his Muslim Brotherhood supporters are being targeted in a relentless crackdown. But this has only increased instability and the number of militant bomb attacks.
Police uniforms and old photos, just a few of the remnants of Dia Fathi's life. In January, this bomb disposal expert died while trying to defuse an explosive device hidden in a flower pot in Cairo. His mother had long feared that his life was in danger.
Ever since trouble began in the country 3 years ago, I was saying goodbye to him every day. Every single day, I was saying goodbye.
Fathi's death was claimed by jihadist group Ajnad Misr, who have carried out dozens of bombings across the country. Their attacks are in retaliation to a government crackdown targeting supporters of ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. He was overthrown in July 2013 after mass street protests demanding his resignation. Police Captain Muhammad says he faces death on a daily basis working in North Sinai, where the Egyptian affiliate of the Islamic State group is also spearheading an insurgency.
I work in the most dangerous place in Egypt. Every day we get at least 10 bomb threats. Many are false alarms, but I try to deal with all the threats as if they were real.
The small rudimentary bombs that regularly go off in Cairo are nowhere near as sophisticated as those used in Iraq or Afghanistan, but they still inflict some damage. Cairo police insist their men are well trained, but at least 3 officers have died already this year. Bomb disposal experts say they always have to be one step ahead of bomb makers, who are often just as qualified.
The development in the quality of explosives is a result of the improving quality of our equipment, because bomb makers are studying our techniques. Now that we defuse 95% of bombs, will they back off? No. They have to adapt by developing new and better explosive mixtures to make it harder for our dogs to detect them.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has vowed to eradicate Islamist militant groups, and incidents have grown more sporadic in the past year. But the recent resurgence of bomb attacks means their presence is always felt.
For years, the Horn of African nation of Djibouti was seen by foreign powers as little more than a far-flung military outpost overseeing the Gulf of Aden. But now, Djibouti is trying to capitalize on its key position along one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world, the gateway to the Suez Canal, an African base overlooking Arabia.
It's always said that Djibouti was the land of encounters and exchanges. I think this is true, and now we're trying to prove that it's currently going the way of Dubai and even Singapore.
Djibouti already operates as the main port for landlocked Ethiopia, and they're strengthening that connection further. A short drive outside the city, Chinese workers are busy building a new railway line, linking Ethiopia's capital of Addis Ababa with Djibouti, reviving a line that has been defunct for decades. The 450-mile line is being built at a cost of $4 billion by China Railway Engineering Construction. By both land and sea, Djibouti wants to position itself as the gateway for Asia into Africa.
Of 17 landlocked countries on the continent, 10 are in the Komisa region with 400 million inhabitants. So these countries need maritime and port infrastructure to trade with the rest of the world.
For now, Djibouti mainly serves Ethiopia's 90 million consumers, but their ambition extends to the entire continent. As well as its port and railway projects, Djibouti wants to add 2 new airports and build industrial areas. A total of 14 infrastructure projects are planned here, totaling some $14.4 billion, mainly financed by Chinese banks. But some are wary of such huge investments for a country with less than 1 million people. Djibouti faces widespread poverty, with over 43% unemployment.
Now with the Chinese, we take all possible loans for all projects. It is they who manage, and we've lost control.
But Djibouti's government is betting on strong African economic growth to recoup the investment and set itself on a path to becoming the Dubai of the Horn.
The catwalk's a rite of passage for new designers hoping to get their clothes noticed. But getting onto the podium can be difficult, since designers have to meet certain conditions. Soweto Fashion Week 3-year-old event aims to promote young designers who haven't yet made it.
We uplift a lot of designers over the years. They grow from just being designing for your neighbor to designing for stores. So that's the transition that they make when they come here.
Floyd was born and bred in the famous Johannesburg township. He showcased his brand Floyd Avenue last year, which has helped bring in some business.
They linked us up with buyers, and now the buyers are going to open, and there's a shop that's going to open right here in Soweto as well, and we're going to be stocking the shop, so that is awesome. That's what I got from showcasing last year.
The Conning sisters have never had their own shop or sold their clothes in stores, so their brand You We Me has never set foot on a catwalk. But that's about to change.
In Johannesburg, we've done quite well with the brand for the last 3 years, taking it from your stalls and your flea markets to doing pop-up events, to then doing our own pop-up shops, to just participating in the South African Fashion Week designer pop-up as well, to now us officially opening up a retail space in Melbourne.
The brand was created by her older sister in London before the whole family in Johannesburg joined her. Eleanor, Angelique and their mother all source fabrics, cut, sew, market and sell. Their secret is the versatility of their clothes, like this dress, which can be worn 16 different ways. And with their shop about to open, they're looking forward to finally strutting their designs down an international catwalk as the icing on the cake.
With Blisco, we order direct.
Ivory Coast is looking for a new football coach for the national team. Candidates need to submit their CVs by mid-June. The job advert for Hervé Renard's successor specifies that applicants need to speak fluent French and be willing to live in Ivory Coast for the duration of the contract. Coming up next week, businesses are paralysed in Burundi as the month-long political crisis drags on. And reporting in Uganda gets a remix. Journalists are wrapping the news to revive interest amongst the younger generation. That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.